Hello, everybody. Welcome back to That 70s Card Show. I am your host, John Keating, and we are here to talk about the cards and the culture of the very colorful 1970s. That 70s Card Show is currently sponsored by nobody. If you'd like to reach out to me, I can be found on Twitter at 70s Card. Email would be that70scardshow at gmail.com. I am on YouTube, that 70s Card Show, and of course, podcast platforms almost everywhere. This is episode 28, and we are going to talk about the 73 74 Tops hockey set. I know, hockey gets everybody jazzed up. Um, Perhaps not. I am not a big hockey guy, as I've stated in the past, but it's fun to learn about stuff. We're going to have some dad facts, we're going to have some hockey facts, and we're going to have some deep dive into the 73 74 top set with some visuals if you are watching along on YouTube. So, this is my last episode on the road for a while. I should be home by the end of this week, somewhere in November. Been a long grind, about a month grind between Vegas and Los Angeles, and cannot wait to get home. I'm exhausted, logistically doing my job, attending school online, and having a podcast and feeding a very nasty sports card habit. It does take its toll, so cannot wait to be home in my own bed with my wife, my dog, and get to see my two young sons, who are actually both adults, but whatevs. Next week, I just want to remind everybody that we will be having a monster Mailzilla review of the cards that I've purchased over the past 4 weeks that have landed in my mailbox that I have not yet seen. So we will jump into those. Cannot wait to actually touch them and tell the stories behind the whys and the hows of purchasing those. Maybe even a midweek Roadkill episode part two. I did one last week, Roadkill 1, where I went to Burbank Sports Cards, met Rob Veras, met some of his staff, and they don't know me from Adam. I'm just a guy who comes in with a big forehead, and truly very nice people. They are as advertised. Particularly Rob. I got to chat with Rob for about 5-10 minutes. Very busy man. His main concern was making sure his staff was fed. He kept yelling out, "Who's on lunch? Who's on lunch?" Which I think that shows the human aspect of what Rob does. The commerce side is well documented, both online and his shop. His shop is top notch. Loved it. So truly enjoyed that. And again, that was on Roadkill 1. I picked up some stuff, getting close to finishing some of my early 70s sets that have holes in them. So, again, we are in Los Angeles, California. I'm downtown. I am a stone's throw away from Staples Center, the JW Marriott. It's actually over my right shoulder. Basketball game going on right now. Apparently, a big day game. Don't know who they're playing, those Lakers, but somebody's playing out there. It's 90 degrees outside, and it's 45 degrees back home in Philadelphia. So it is challenging for me to walk around outside when it is twice as warm as it would be back home. I'm accustomed to colder weather, but since it is 45 degrees back home, and since there was a monster blizzard in much of the upper central part of the United States, and it always snows in Canada, even in July, as far as what I want to believe. It's time we talk about hockey, but before we dive in there, let's bring back some dad facts. Now, I have a whole bunch of dad facts here. It's been a while. 1973 was a very busy year in the world. Planes were falling out of the sky on their own or with the aid of human beings. There was a massive amount of unrest in Northern Ireland. And, of course, Watergate was rocking and rolling, and I'm going to try to skip all that in the dad facts, okay, because there's just too much to talk about. Let's just say I'm glad I'm a frequent flyer now than I was in the early 70s. It would be tough right now getting on a plane. So let's go. January 14th, 1973. Elvis Presley's concert in Hawaii is the first worldwide telecast by an entertainer that is watched by more people than watched the Apollo moon landings. Pretty impressive, Elvis. That was a great concert. even for me to enjoy. Big fan. American football, the Miami Dolphins complete the first and only perfect season in National Football history by defeating the Washington Redskins. That's NFL League history, by defeating the Washington Redskins 14-7 in Super Bowl VII in Los Angeles at the Memorial Coliseum. Still standing in the Coliseum, home of the USC Trojans. January 17th, Ferdinand Marcos becomes president for life of the Philippines, probably the second most well-known foot fetishist in the world behind Rex Ryan. January 20th, Richard Nixon is sworn in for a second term as President of the United States, and this makes the first and to date only person who has been sworn into both the vice presidency and the presidency twice each. Richard, of course, will, during his second term, will say, hold my beer, and kind of blow things up. January 22nd, Roe v. Wade, U.S. Supreme Court overturns state bans on abortion. I don't bring that up for other than any other reason other than it was a very busy day. You'll see George Foreman defeats Joe Frazier to win the heavyweight world boxing championship. And former U.S. President Lyndon Baines Johnson dies at his Stonewall, Texas ranch, which leaves no former living U.S. presidents until the resignation of Richard Nixon in 1974. And most importantly, John Keating celebrates his 5th birthday, which is his last as a resident of the city of Philadelphia. And in further John Keating news, the rock band Kiss on January 30th plays its first concert for an audience of fewer than 10 people at the Popcorn Pub in Queens, New York. Now, I have my opinions about Kiss these days, but when I was 10 years old, Kiss was the bomb, and that's the reason I chose to do what I do for a living. So, yay, Kiss. February 6th, in Toronto, construction of the CN Tower begins. Beautiful building. February 12th, Ohio becomes the first state in the United States to post distance in metric on signs. So for those of you that are probably too young to remember, which is nobody listens to this podcast, we were going to hit the metric, John, pretty hard back then in the early 70s. It never happened, but Ohio tried, apparently. March 12th, the last episode of the original Laugh In airs on NBC. Parents love that show for sure. March 26th, The Young and Restless, and the $10,000 Pyramid debut on CBS. March 27th, at the 45th Academy Awards, The Godfather wins Best Picture of 1972. And March 29th, the last United States soldier leaves Vietnam. Boy, what a hairy time that was back then in the early 70s, huh? April 3rd, the first handheld mobile phone call is made by Martin Cooper of Motorola in New York City. Talk about unleashing hell on the world. I guess the mobile phone has done that more than any other device, I would think. April 6th, Ron Bloomberg of the New York Yankees becomes the first designated hitter in Major League Baseball. April 8th, Pablo Picasso dies at his home in France. I have a listener in France. Vive la France. April 17th, FedEx officially begins operations as Federal Express with the launch of 14 small aircraft from Memphis International Airport. On that night, FedEx Express, or Federal Express, delivers 186 packages to 25 U.S. cities from Rochester, New York to Miami, Florida. May 3rd, the Sears Tower in Chicago is topped off, becoming the world's tallest building at 1,451 feet. I think it's the Willis Tower now. What you talking about? May 5th, Secretariat wins the Kentucky Derby in a dramatic come-from-behind victory and sets a new and still existing Derby record of 1 minute 59 and 2/5 second. Led Zeppelin plays before 56,800 persons at Tampa Stadium on the band's 1973 North American tour, thus breaking the August 15th, 1965 record of 56,000 set by the Beatles at Shea Stadium. All but 800 of those people left during the Led Zeppelin's rendition of Four Sticks, 2 songs into the set. I'm lying. May 14th, Skylab, the United States' first space station, is launched. May 17th, here we go, Watergate. The televised hearings begin in the United States Senate. All right, May 19th, back to Secretariat. Secretariat wins the Preakness Stakes by 2.5 lengths over an amazingly quick second place Sham. A malfunction at the track's timing equipment prevented a confirmed new track record. On May 30th, Gordon Johncock wins the Indianapolis 500. June 4th, the United States patent for the DocuTel automated teller machine is granted to Donald Wetzel, Tom Barnes, and George Chastain. So your ATMs are not launched, but they are patented on June 4th. Back in the day, we used to have to get our money on Friday. That was going to hold everybody over till Monday. But thanks to these chaps, don't have to worry about that anymore, and we're essentially a cashless society now. All right, back to Secretariat news. Secretariat wins the Belmont Stakes on June 9th, shattering the record by an unbelievable 2 3/5 seconds, becoming the first Triple Crown of thoroughbred racing winner since 1948. Obviously, Secretariat was a stud in many ways, both on and off the track. So a lot of great athletes in the 70s, and Secretariat being an equine was certainly one of them. But back to Watergate news on June 22nd. W. Mark Felt, also known as Deep Throat, retires from the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I promised I wouldn't get into this, but somehow I am. July 1st, the United States Drug Enforcement Administration is founded. July 2nd, the United States Congress passes the Education of Handicapped Act, the EHA, mandating special education federally, which is awesome. July 20th, Bruce Lee, American actor, philosopher, and founder of Jeet Kune Do, dies in Hong Kong of a cerebral edema. 6 days after his final film, Enter the Dragon, is released. July 28th, the Summer Jam at Watkins Glen was a massive rock festival featuring the Grateful Dead, the Allman Brothers, and the band, and it attracted over 600,000 music fans and 1 bar of soap. September 20th, the Battle of Sexes. Billie Jean King defeats Bobby Riggs in a televised tennis match, 6-4, 6-4, 6-3 at the Astrodome in Houston, Texas, with an attendance of 30,492. This remains the largest live audience ever to see a tennis match in U.S. history. The global audience that views on television in 36 countries is estimated at 90 million human beings. Singer-songwriter Jim Croce dies following a gig at Northwestern State University in Louisiana, having boarded a small chartered plane that crashes on takeoff. All 6 people were killed. And also on September 30th, Willie Mays announces his retirement. Of course, at that point, he's a New York Met, and he will have exactly 1 baseball card to follow in the 74 season, featuring his work in the World Series. September 23rd, in American football, the Oakland Raiders defeat the Miami Dolphins 12-7, ending the Dolphins' unbeaten streak at 18. It is the Dolphins' first loss since January 16th, 1972, in Super Bowl VI. Pretty amazing run. September 30th, Yankee Stadium, known as the House that Ruth Built, closes for a 2-year renovation at a cost of $160 million US. The New York Yankees play all of their home games at Shea Stadium in 74 and 75. Of course, one of the big features there is getting rid of all the pillars and columns and all that stuff that obstructed views. A little bit, I think they moved Monument Park to behind fences and stuff like that, changed dimensions. On October 5th, Elton John releases his most successful album, which is Goodbye, Yellow Brick Road. And on October 17th, an OPEC oil embargo against several countries supporting Israel triggers the 1973 energy crisis. October 20th, more Watergate news. The Saturday Night Massacre. Richard Nixon orders Attorney General Elliot Richardson to dismiss Watergate Special Prosecutor Archibald Cox. Richardson refuses and resigns, along with Deputy Attorney General William Ruckelshaus, Solicitor General Robert Bork, third in line at the Department of Justice. He then fires Cox, and the event raises calls for Nixon's impeachment. But on a lighter note, on October 20th, 1973, the Sydney Opera House is opened by Elizabeth II after 14 years of construction work. Wow, that's a long time. Beautiful building, though, right? October 21st, the greatest dynasty of the 70s, the Oakland Athletics defeat the New York Mets 5-2 to win the World Series 4-3. October 30th, the Bosphorus Bridge in Istanbul, Turkey is completed, connecting the continents of Europe and Asia over the Bosphorus for the first time in history. You could drive a car from Europe to Asia over the Bosphorus Straits, which is pretty damn cool. December 3rd, the Pioneer 10 program sends back the first close-up images of Jupiter. And December 16th, Orenthal James Simpson of the Buffalo Bills becomes the first running back to rush for 2,000 yards in a pro football season. So that's that. That's the year of news. A little bit of sports sprinkled in. Let's talk about entertainment. Your number one box office grossing film in 1973 was The Exorcist, $88,500,000. That's considered a good opening weekend now. The Sting was number two at $79 million. American Graffiti, Papillon, The Way We Were, Magnum Force, Last Tango in Paris, Paper Moon, Live and Let Die, and The Devil and Miss Jones. Oh boy, are your top 10 movies of 1973 grossing wise. So The Exorcist did pretty good in the Golden Globes and all that stuff, but The Sting is what won the Academy Award in 1974. Best Film, Best Director. Jack Lemmon won for Save the Tiger. So the Academy Awards were vastly different than the what are now considered indicators, the Golden Globes and such. So, TV debuts, January 6th, Schoolhouse Rock debuts and would begin what looks like a 36-year run on ABC. January 28th was Barnaby Jones' debut on CBS, Police Story on NBC, again, Young and Restless and $10,000 Pyramid both on the same day. In March, The Tomorrow Show, don't know why that's in there, and of course Kojak debuted on October 24th on CBS and would run for 5 years plus ill-fated return sometime in the 80s. Top-rated television shows of 73 were All in the Family, The Waltons, Sanford and Son, MASH, and Hawaii Five-0. Pretty close there, top five. Hard to argue with any of them, right? Record of the year, was I Honestly Love You by Olivia Newton-John. And album of the year was Fulfilling This First Finale by Stevie Wonder. Song of the year, The Way We Were by Barbra Streisand, written by Marvin Hamlish. And best new artist was Marvin Hamlish, which it's interesting because typically he's a composer. Top selling album at the time was The World is a Ghetto by War, but let's talk about this bad boy right here. March 1st, 1973 was the release of Dark Side of the Moon, which was recorded at Abbey Road Studios. Not quite produced, but engineered by Alan Parsons, who would go on to do the Alan Parsons Project. Dark Side of the Moon is among the most critically acclaimed records in history, often featured on professional listings of the greatest albums of all time. The record helped propel Pink Floyd to international fame, bringing wealth and recognition to all four members. Been certified 14 times platinum in the United Kingdom, 958 weeks on the Billboard Top LP and Tape charts, estimated 45 million copies sold worldwide, blah, 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 blah. It is the fourth best Pink Floyd album of the 70s, but that's there aren't any bands that made a better album than Dark Side of the Moon. Pink Floyd ruled the 70s. This is not open for argument. Okay, so let's talk about hockey then. Let's get on to the hockey, okay? Men with skates and sticks. The 73-74 NHL season was the 57th? It was the 57th hockey season. And remember, much of that was played by, I guess it's the original six, other teams floating in and out. The Flyers won the Stanley Cup, which was the team's first and was also the first of the post-1967 teams to win the Cup. We had just moved from the city to the suburbs, and I remember our parents driving us in after the Cup was won that year, and riots ensued, and it was I still vividly remember all that stuff. Also in the 73-74 season, Charlie O. Finley, the owner of the Oakland A's and the California Golden Seals, failed to find a buyer for the Seals, so the league took over operations. So we had an Eastern Division and a Western Division in 73-74. Eastern Division winner was the Boston Bruins. The Canadians, Bruins had 113 points. Canadians 99, New York Rangers 94, the Maple Leafs 86, the Sabres 76, the Red Wings 68, the Canucks 59, and the Islanders 56. So you talk about the original six there. We had the Bruins, Canadians, Maple Leafs, and Red Wings in that one division. 5 teams: Bruins, Canadians, Rangers, Maple Leafs, and Red Wings. So they kind of got bunched up there, right? It reminds me of what they did in the NFL with the Steelers moving over to the AFL and the Colts moving over to the AFL. Over there in the Western Division, the Philadelphia Flyers, of course, they're in the Western Division because the Vancouver Canucks were in the Eastern Division, and it's just the way it has to be. So the Flyers had 112 points, which was one behind the East leading Boston Bruins. So the Flyers, 112 points, Blackhawks in second with 105, Kings of Los Angeles, 78, Atlanta Flames, 74, Pittsburgh Penguins, 65, the St. Louis Blues, 64, the Minnesota North Stars, 63, and those California Golden Seals had 36 points, which was 20 points fewer than the next best team above them. I am going to put on my glasses here because I have some NHL awards that I need to read. Prince of Wales Trophy, regular season champ, obviously was the Bruins because they had one more point than the Flyers. Well, I guess the Clarence Campbell Bowl went to the Western Division champion, which was the Flyers. Top scorer of the league was Phil Esposito. Best sportsmanship, which was the Bill Masterson Memorial Trophy, Masterton Memorial Trophy, went to Henri Richard. Calder, top rookie, I guess, Dennis Potvin. Conn Smythe went to Bernie Parent as your most valuable player of the playoffs. Most valuable player of the regular season was Phil Esposito. That's the Hart Trophy. The Jack Adams Award for best coach went to Freddie Shero of the Philadelphia Flyers. Best defenseman, which is your Norris Trophy, Bobby Orr. Lady Byng, excellence and sportsmanship went to Johnny Boychuk. I think that's how you spell his name. Lester B. Pearson Award, Outstanding Player Regular Season. Again, Phil Esposito. I don't know why there's an Outstanding Player and a Most Valuable Player, but more hardware for Phil. The Vezina Trophy went to both Tony Esposito and Bernie Parent. I guess they had the goaltender of team with the best goaltending record. And the Patrick Trophy, named after Lester Patrick, which is the service to hockey in the United States, went to Alex Delvecchio, Mary Murdoch, Weston W. Adams Sr., and Charles L. Crovat. Your all-star teams. Oh, boy. So all-star teams were Bernie Parent from the Flyers, Bobby Orr, Brad Park, Phil Esposito, Ken Hodge, and Rick Martin. Not the Ricky Martin, but another Rick Martin. So that's your all-star teams. It makes no sense to me because it's different divisions. But that's Wikipedia for you. Playoffs. We had the Flyers beating the Hawks. The Hawks. Is that right? The Flames, the Atlanta Flames. So we had the Flyers beating the Flames 4-0. The Rangers beating the Canadiens 4-2. We had Boston beating the Maple Leafs 4-0, and Chicago Blackhawks beating the Los Angeles Kings 4-1. And Boston beat Chicago 4-2 in the semis. Philly beating the Rangers 4-3, and of course Philly winning it all 4-2. Couple players that made their debut in 73-74 were Bob Gainey of the Montreal Canadiens, Dennis Potvin of the New York Islanders, Borge Salming of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and Lanny McDonald also of the Maple Leafs at the time. These were all would eventually make the Hall of Fame, all 4 of them. Players that played their last game in the 73-74 season. Tim Horton of the Buffalo Sabres, a Hall of Famer, obviously known for his donut empire, which still thrives and exists today. The guy was quite an entrepreneur, and he played 25 seasons in the NHL, 4-time Cup winner. But he also died at the age of 44 in a he was driving a Pantera from Toronto to Buffalo, and alcohol was involved, and speed was involved. So a guy who had looked like he had his life together all around, and looked like he was set for life with his burgeoning empire, all gone because of his stupid decision that he'd probably gotten away with many times before. Again, Alex Dalvecchio was mentioned earlier, Red Wings Hall of Famer, 24-year Red Wing, and a three-time Cup winner. Gump Worsley. Now, Gump Worsley looked exactly like he's named. So if you look up Gump Worsley, the picture does say 1,000 words. He was a Minnesota North Star when he retired, a Hall of Famer, and a four-time Stanley Cup winner. Frank Mahavlich, Montreal Canadiens Hall of Famer, a six-time Cup winner. Jacques Laperriere, I believe, is from the Montreal Canadiens Hall of Fame, and a five-time Cup winner. And Barry Ashby from the Flyers got hit in the eye with a wayward slap shot in the playoffs on the Stanley Cup run by the Flyers. Lost, I think it says 85% of his eyesight in his right eye. So obviously he was done hockey playing. He ended up becoming a coach, and his name's on the Stanley Cup a couple times as, I guess, a player for 73, 74, and a coach 74, 75. Unfortunately, died from leukemia in 1977, which talk about a series of bad breaks. Barry Ashby. The draft that year was held May 15th in 1973 at the Mont Royal Hotel in Montreal, Quebec. Dennis Potvin was your number one overall pick, and he was drafted by the Islanders, of course. Atlanta Flames picked Tom Lysiak, and Dennis Vervegard was picked by the Canucks third. Now, 13 rounds from what I gather, not symmetrical rounds, but 13 rounds of drafting, and there was only 3 future All-Stars picked after that first round. Now, the first round featured Hall of Famers Dennis Potvin, Lanny McDonald, and Bob Gainey, and a slew of All-Stars. In fact, there's more All-Stars than non-All-Stars that were picked in the first round. So I guess they knew what they were doing there in hockey. They picked them all early and often. After that, it was just players were kind of dust. January 29th, 1974 was the All-Star game for the NHL for the 73-74 season. That was held at Chicago Stadium. 16,426 attended. Gary Unger was your MVP from the St. Louis Blues. And it was the second time the All-Star game was held in Chicago. And I believe the West Division won 6-4. Again, Gary Unger, your most valuable player. All right, let's talk some sports cards now, okay? 73, 74 tops. We're going to bring up some visuals for those at home on the YouTubes. Second straight year that Topps increased the number of cards in its hockey set, 198 cards at all. It was the largest hockey set yet issued for the Topps brand. Front of the cards have a distinguished, let me see here, colors of red, yellow, blue, green, and first 6 cards feature the league leaders in different statistical categories. The final 8 cards recap the playoffs and the Stanley Cup champions of the previous year. All-Star players are noted on their base cards by a different design that features a shield. Team picture cards run alphabetically by city name, and they are cards 92 through 107. Also, there is one checklist in this set, and due to the way the printing sheet was laid out, there are 66 cards in the set that are double printed. Back contains the player's 72-73 season record, career numbers, a short biography, and a cartoon illustrating a fact about the player. I'll get to the backs in a second. There's also another interesting thing, or 2 interesting things I found there. There's about 37 of the cards are landscape cards. Some players, all the teams are landscape, and most of the postseason cards, as well as obviously the league leaders, are landscape. A lot of action shots, a lot of studio backdrop shots, some proof of life shots thrown in there. Listen, this set was essentially filled with drunk uncles and a bunch of stone cousins thrown in. So this looks like a set produced for a 40 and over league of hockey players. I'm not questioning the abilities or the toughness of these guys, but it truly looks like a different generation of human beings altogether. I'm not sure what explains it, but man, these guys were rough. Again, the subsets were the league leaders 1 through 6, which is goals, assists, scoring, points total, right? Goals against for the goalie tenders, penalty minutes, which NHL loved to promote that, didn't they? And power play goals. Okay, all stars sprinkled in. I think there's 12 total, so 6 from each conference. Again, a team cards 92 through 107 have team and player records on the back. Golden Seals, I believe, just had 1 season worth of records on there. 191, 198 randomized postseason highlights, with 198 being the Canadiens champs card. Again, checklist 116, only one of them. Let's go back to some of the how we distributed these cards to the public, in the U.S. at least. The wax boxes of the 73-74 Topps Hockey held 24 packs, but there were some 36-count boxes produced as well. Packs were still a dime and contained 10 cards plus a sticker insert that features the team names and logos. Interestingly enough, the stickers have a team logo and an entirely different team's name, so you got 2 teams for the price of 1 sticker. I found it interesting. I figured it would be the Atlanta Flames would also have the Atlanta Flames logo and the Atlanta Flames name sticker on the same card, but somebody at Topps felt otherwise. The wrappers included offers for Topps Sports Card Locker. That would be ubiquitous throughout the 70s in different sports. An NHL-themed bulletin board, a set of 16 plastic team emblems, and a player/team photo album. Supposedly there were no cello packs, but there's been known to be some rack packs, which would have been 54 cards per pack, 39 cents for those 54 cards, which is obviously a better bargain than 10 for 10 cents. So moving on here, let's dissect the fronts a little bit. The fronts are, like I said, a lot of post shots, a lot of action shots, and some proof of life shots as well. The borders are kind of like a decal edge border inside, so the picture itself is kind of deckled inside of a hard border surrounding different colors. League leader landscape cards, again, the all-star cards are pretty cool, depicting the players inside of a shield. Team cards, for the most part, are those classic team on ice, center ice shots, which are great. Hockey was really good at doing that, and the playoff cards were pretty cool too. I have a shot of a really cool playoff card there on the screen. The backs, the leaders have the different division leaders just listed on the back, kind of like what they would do with baseball. Atlanta Flames had 1 year of records, whereas the Boston Bruins had many, many years of records in there. The back of the card itself was kind of that orange that we wouldn't see, I guess, until 1978 in baseball. I'll blow up one of those. You can see I brought up Mickey Redmond's card right there. And just seasonal stats, just 1 year, not even career totals on there. So a big old hockey stick, which separates the vital statistics from a little bit of a biography. Normal stuff home, which is kind of cool when you're looking at these Canadian players, seeing where their home is. All the way back over here in the United States, it was kind of neat to see some of the geographical locations these folks came from. Their birth date, how they shoot, their height, their weight, and their first pro season is listed on there. One interesting thing I found on the back of this card, right under the cartoon on every card, is a Watch NHL Hockey on NBC TV, kind of like a little reminder that we're going to do some hockey watching there on whatever day of the week that was on. So, copyright Topps Chewing Company or TCG, printed in USA. There's something else I saw on the back of these. If you could see some of these cards that aren't the player cards, but the team cards and the leader cards, the number in the set is in a box on the player cards, but it looks like home plate in these other cards, like the team cards and the league leader cards. Like, why would they use a pentagon that is shaped exactly like home plate? I'm not quite understanding why that happened. But anyway, maybe somebody slipped that in, maybe they didn't. So 198 cards in this bad boy. There is a I guess we can go on to the rookies, right? So the rookie cards that year, the big rookie cards that year were Billy Smith, who would play for the be a star and a stud for the championship New York Islander teams later in the decade. Dave the Hammer Schultz, an enforcer there, and Billy Barber, both from the Flyers. Billy Barber is considered by many to be the greatest Flyer ever. A lot of people find him to be over Bobby Clark, consider him much more appealing. I don't know why. Nothing wrong with Bobby Clark either, right? But those were the rookie cards. As you can see, the Billy Smith one goes from $15 to $25 depending on condition. Dave Schultz one goes from $6 to $12, I think, and the Billy Barber one goes from $6 to $10. So that's your top three rookies. Falls off a cliff right after that, right after those guys. Your top five cards overall, going to be your Ken Dryden, which is a $25 to $40 card. Bobby Orr, $18 to $30, depending on condition. Obviously, that rookie Billy Smith card, $15 to $25 again. The checklist comes in at number 4, $12 to $10. Again, there's only one of them, and considering what we used to do to checklists, the abuse levied upon checklist by ballpoint pens was surely a tragedy of the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And Guy Lafleur, which is a double print, actually comes in fifth at $7.50 to $15. No doubt that his card would have been a lot more valuable had it not been a double print, possibly overtaking many of those on that list. So that's the top five there, right? Let's talk about the Beckett OPG, current Beckett OPG values here. So total value of this set for the 198 cards is $385.25. That's if you bought them by list price individually with an average value of $1.95. 14 rookie cards in that set. A complete set itself will run you $125 to about $200. Again, we certainly didn't have the option to buy a factory set. So these will be hand collated sets, $125 to $200 if that is your jam. Let's talk about, we're going to head into the judgment zone here. Yeah, I judge, and that's okay because I judge myself more than I judge everybody else, right? So the good, the bad, and the ugly here in the judgment zone. Some couple of cool cards there. Tony Esposito's card, Blackhawks. I mean, the Blackhawk jersey is pretty cool, but he's got that, that Jason mask on from Friday the 13th that everybody had in the 70s. A lot of fun wearing those. There's a really cool shot of Gary Unger, who was your All-Star Game MVP that year, I believe, of a really artistic shot where the cameraman is down on the ice behind the puck, and Gary Unger's coming by and swooping that puck up. So I really appreciate that, especially in those times. It had to have been a difficult shot to capture. So kudos to whomever planned and executed that. And then you have your quarterfinals. I guess it's the Flyers versus the North Stars, and the goalie is on his knees, lunging for the puck, and I'll be damned if the guy's not wearing a mask, which is crazy. So still had a guy there not wearing a mask. There were still guys in the league, most guys not wearing helmets. I believe if I go back to the front of cards here, one thing that stuck out at me is Fran Huck from the Blues wearing a helmet. Otherwise, it was pretty hard to find one of these cats wearing helmets. They're Canadians. They're tough, man. Don't want to go down to a dark alley running a bunch of those guys. All right, back to our good, bad, and ugly. Bad now. All right, let's talk about the bad. I question these cards here. I've shown 6 cards here where there's players. There's a plethora of players here, and I have no idea who the card is for. First card is Andre. Let me see if I get Andre Boudrias. I think that's what his name is. Boudrias. I see 6 players there. I have no idea which one he is. Billy Harris from the Islanders. I see a couple Islanders there. I think. I don't know. Jocelyn Gouvernement from the Canucks. Don't know what he's doing. He's listed as a defenseman, and I see a goalie, and I see 4 other chaps running around. Dave Keon from the Maple Leafs is one of 6 players plus a referee in that shot. Phil Roberto, left wing from the Blues. I believe he is fighting or he's getting fought. So there's a picture of a bare knuckle gentleman beating up on somebody else with a referee number 31, kind of intervening. And Orland Kutenbach from the Canucks, a center. Not sure which one he is. There's a guy completely laid out on his butt, and there's 3 guys above him, what looks like fighting for the puck. So, Tops, I don't know what you were thinking, man. You know, you have to be hardcore to really understand who these players are that they're trying to depict. So check that out if you can, man. There's some confusing things. I guess these are Ray Guy rookie cards, right? So if you look at Ray Guy's rookie card, I don't even know if you can see Ray Guy in the picture. So Tops gave you some kudos on that last one with that Gary Unger, but then you just come up with this stuff and have no idea what I'm looking at. All right, the ugly. This is true judgment right here. Okay. Again, it's a set full of drunk uncles, so I don't know if I can single any of them out, but I'm gonna do something here. So Jacques Richard, I don't know whether he's related to Henri Richard, but I would bet my life that is actually Michael Bolton in an Atlanta Flames uniform. So Michael Bolton, kudos to you from hanging up your skates and you know getting right into the crooning business. Great job. Dave Dryden, is he related to Ken Dryden? I don't know. I don't care. But I will tell you that he looks like he's from the Planet of the Apes. Uh, it's it's like a Pete Rose haircut with a Andy Etchebarren face. I don't know what's going on there, but he looks Charlton Heston. It looks like he's fighting Charlton Heston off. Uh, California Golden Seals. Uh, you know, if you guys know anything about me, you know that I hate the Cubs team cards from the 1970s, and the Golden Seals kind of mailed this one in with a bunch of headshots. And not only that, but there's only 14 or let me do some quick math here. 13 players depicted in these headshots, and 12 of them are facing one way, and there's one facing a completely different way. So not only does it bother me, but that tiny bit of OCD there, like why couldn't we get that 13th guy reverses negative so he's facing the other way? Don't know what Tops is just messing with us again. And then you have Mike Corrigan, who I guess drunk step uncle cousin, I don't know, but looks a little goofy there between his hair, his smile, and his fabulous Los Angeles Kings jersey. So that's it. That's my trip through the 73 74 Tops hockey set. Mad respect for players of that era for playing without masks, for playing without caring what they look like, apparently. And for some of the ones, I guess, that were in the witness protection program and didn't want to be identified on their cards. So when it was time for them to get their picture taken, they grabbed 5 of their friends and crowded in. So anyway, thanks for listening to That 70s Card Show. I can, again, be reached at That 70s Card Show on gmail.com. I'm on Twitter at 70s Card, on YouTube at That 70s Card Show. Really looking forward to getting home. Thank you for letting me bore you with my stories and my opinions. If you're listening on the podcast, you are being played out by Mango Safari, which is my nephew Ryan's band. Very talented young man. And that's about it. Listen, enjoy collecting and enjoy your collection, and I'll see you guys very soon. Thank you so much. Have a great week.